Bendu, and I'm coming at y'all with another video today. And today I'm gonna be reacting to this clip. So I've been peeping this channel called Andrew Neff, and it looks like he like puts together like clips of different like political video, kind of like what Case Study QB does on Twitter, but he's on YouTube. So I definitely recommend checking his channel out. I'll link his channel below. You know, go subscribe and all that. You know, because he posts really dope clips on here, not just from like, you know, like today I'm going to be reacting to Chris Hedges and Professor Wolff, but he also posts other, you know, other people I've never heard of, which I'm going to be reacting to those videos as well. But so today we're going to be reacting to this, like I said, this Chris Hedges and Professor Wolff video though, and it looks like they're breaking down infrastructure. So let's go ahead and check this joint out.
Of the year. What happens when the money for infrastructure projects runs out? Will our roads, bridges, harbors, public transportation, and electric grids again be neglected? Will the federal government or
Let me answer that for you, Mr. Hedges. Yes.
orchestrate another massive relief and infrastructure package? Joining me to discuss these relief bills and the future of the American economy is the economist Richard Wolff, a visiting professor in the graduate program in international affairs of the New School in New York, who hosts the nationally syndicated program Economic Update with Richard Wolff, which is produced by Democracy at Work. So, Rick, let's talk. It's a lot of money, $5 trillion. But let's break it down and what it really means. We can start with the COVID relief bill and then go on to the infrastructure bill proposal.
Well, I think the basic message of both of these big bills is that the capitalist system of the United States is now 100% on life support from the government. It is literally life support in the COVID case because of the disastrous failure of our public health system to manage. We are 4% of the world's population, and we have 20% of the world's deaths from COVID. It is a staggering statistic.
And that's, you know, I have my issues and I have my reservations about the exact number of people that died from COVID, especially here in America, you know, here in the States. But I can, based on how our healthcare system is, I can't believe that you know, that more people in the United States died. I can definitely believe that shit. Whether I believe the number is as what they say it is, you know, but still, that's insane. That's insanity. And then it falls in line. It falls in line with, you know, how our healthcare system ranks overall around the world, you know, pre-COVID and out, you know, separate from COVID. It sucks. It's trash. It's garbage. There's some what they call, you know, what the West calls third world countries. And honestly, let's be real. Most third world countries were and are created by one of the Western powers, whether it's the United States, France, Germany, the UK, whatever fucking country it is. One of them has something to do with that country being what they call third world, because that's all they did during the colonial period was go to other people's countries and steal their fucking shit. Richard Medhurst said it best. Like, of course people are going to come to your fucking country because you stole all their shit. You stole all the wealth. You went in their country, took the wealth, killed the people, and the people that's left are just supposed to stay there and starve and rot and die. Fuck you. And I agree with him 100%.
Statistic that screams the inadequacy of what was done here. And so we're going to throw money at it rather than asking what were the conditions that produced a failure of this magnitude.
Exactly.
And for that, blaming Mr. Trump won't do. It does not go far enough to understand why it was even possible for one politician like that to be able to act in the way that he did. And it's really the same with the infrastructure bill, because there it's again a government on life support, having neglected our infrastructure so that we are a disaster. That's according to the engineers here in the United States, not some foreign entity making a value judgment. We have let that go because of the structure.
See that, and that looks like erosion damage. That's what that looks like right there. And that's a product of what? climate change, and you have, you have the dickheads, obviously the fucking conservatives that deny climate change is a thing. Then you have the fucking corporate Democrats that, kind of don't believe in climate change, but kind of do. Then you have the Kristen Sinemas and Joe Manchins of the world, and then you have the Joe Bidens and Kamala Harris's, all the corporate Democrats. Then you have the do-nothing progressives, as I like to call it, the do-nothing just us Democrats, like AOC, Ro Khanna, or used car salesman Ro Khanna, bitch-ass Jamal Bowman, all the phony Pramila Jayapal, all these people. I'm kind of trying to adopt that, how Trump would throw names in front of people like Sleepy Joe, Sloppy Steve, man, phony Pramila Jayapal. But yeah, so whether it's people that directly are ignoring the problem, people that want to find this incrementalist, centrist solutions to the problem, or the people who understand and know what the problems is, but they want to go along and get along with the establishment, so they aren't going to fight for the solutions to the problem.
Structure of our system, private enterprises are not charged with maintaining.
That's wow. That's definitely erosion.
A government function, but the government unwilling.
I wonder where this is. This is like Florida somewhere.
Corporations and the rich does not have the money to do it, neglects it because you can get away with that as a politician. It's our.
And that's what they do. They fund all this political fighting, basically, like the shit-lit Majority Report Brigade and people of that ilk and the TYT ilk like to talk about, the Koch brothers and people like David Sirota, the Koch brothers fund, all of this, anti-climate change stuff and this political fighting stuff, this, that, and the third. Y'all talk about it. Y'all talk about this. They're good at pointing out the solutions, but they're not good at fighting back. They think that you can just vote the problem away. You can trump the Koch brothers billions upon trillions of dollars by just voting. It don't work that way. These people, but they don't understand this. It's niggas in other countries that died for this shit, bro. The Russian Revolution, the Chinese Communist Revolution, like all these revolutions y'all fucking taught, niggas died for that shit, bro. Same thing with a lot of these socialist revolutions, bro. And Rome talks about this shit, dog. If you're not willing to die for that shit, shut the fuck up forever. That's how I feel about it. Honestly, if y'all really want change, and I'm not saying it just has to be through violence. You do have to try every avenue, but you got to realize and look at history and not deny history that every, communist, socialist, whatever, revolution you're talking about was acquired through violence. Some form, whether it was outright civil war type shit, like what you saw with China and Russia, or even with like Venezuela, the countries down there in Venezuela where they did have, a popular mobilization Chavista movement, but there was violence that ensued there and still is to this day. So you're not going to win this by, this pacifist, peaceful, pussy ass, electoral politics game that people think is going to, be, fairy tales and shit like that. I'm actually going to be covering a article from Dantel over at the Unapologetic YouTube channel. I'm going to be covering his article that he wrote because people like Jordan Sheraton, I love Jordan Sheraton. I love his work. I love his channel. He needs to get that through his fucking head. You out here shitting on people for not supporting Nina Turner, who was talking about we're going to be disappointed in her, like how we're disappointed in the squad, and you mad at us for not supporting her? Man, miss me with that.
Political economic system, you put all this together and they're throwing tons of money at it, but that is a substitute for changing any of the basic conditions that brought both the public health.
And I think David Dayen wrote about this. It's basically a lot of these programs are going to be corporate handouts or, like giving the bare minimum amount of money to keep these programs to say, well, at least we did something. But David Dayen. Yeah, I said David Dayen, I think. But David Dayen will still go out there and talk about, there's good things in this bill, this, that, and the third, da, da, da. Huh? And shit like that is why the largest voting bloc in America are people that don't fucking vote. They vote with their asses on the couch.
Disaster and the neglected infrastructure to the critical point that something has to be done. And throwing money at it.
And I live in Delaware, bro, and like they, I see the infrastructure problems that we have. and shit like that. And I live in fucking Delaware. We're like corporate tax haven and shit like that. So, corporate havens and tax havens and shit like that, like, and to partially helped, designed and maintained by Joe Biden. He maintains the corporate status quo, but he does not maintain the bridges and roads in his own fucking state. We were all supposed to go vote for him as president.
Okay. Is the last gasp step of a system unwilling to question its basic
structures. We're in late stage capitalism. That's what Richard Wolff is saying right now.
Quick fix.
Isn't it just trickle down economics? I mean, they're giving all this money to private corporations, and then this mantra of it's going to trickle down to the American public.
Yes,
and that's literally what the government, specifically the Democrats, are selling you right now. So this concept that conservatives come up with, like, oh, Democrats are trying to usher in communism and socialism. That's what Joe Biden, we call them Chinese Communist Party. You're an idiot. You're a sucker. Because they're saying the same shit Reagan was 80 years ago. They're saying the same shit, or not 80 years ago, 30 to 40 years ago, however long ago it was. They're saying the same thing as fucking Mitch McConnell. Yo, pay attention, meathead. He's saying the same shit that he said. Like, literally. Oh my God.
I'm so glad you brought up.
By the way, 8 Mile still stands up to this day, bro. I love the memes of Anthony Mackie. They showed a picture of him when he got embarrassed by Eminem on stage. And they said at this point, Clarence quit his rap career. Then it's like him as Falcon. Enjoy the adventures. Those memes are fucking hilarious. But we're going to get back to politics now.
Up that old statement, that old phrase, trickle down, because it is old. It is a standard operating procedure.
Nobody wants that shit.
When the system begins to stumble over itself, you throw money at the top. You tell everybody about the wonderful, useful things it may do, but you leave out all the little details. So let me go through them.
And that's what pisses me off about people like David Sirota. That's what pisses me off with people like David Dan. That's what pisses me off with a lot of these. And then obviously what pisses me off about the TYT folk and the Majority Report crowd is that, dog, like, y'all niggas will sit here and cover articles, and Kyle Galinsky, Crystal Ball, they're in this shit too. All of them niggas. Marianne Williamson out here talking about we need to go and reinvade Afghanistan for women right now. That's what she talking about right now. I love Marianne, but she pisses me off a lot. I love her, but she pisses me off. Yeah, but they're like, they'll sit here and point out the fuckery within the bill, but then say we have to vote for the bill because of the little crumbs they're giving you. This is literally the CARES Act again. You haven't learned your lesson. You have, what the nigga, do they gotta like smack you harder this time? Like they literally put your hand, here, you want this smack? Do they gotta like punch you this time? They've been punching us. Oh my God. Well, yeah, we have to keep all of them in because they're giving us crumbs in the bill. Miss me with that bullshit.
And I'll use in this case the infrastructure story because that's on everyone's mind these days. You're looking at $2 to $3 trillion, depending on how it finally.
And I think Ring, I don't know how to say this nigga name. He's the bull. He used to go on Crystal and Sagar's show. He still goes on there. The Funky Academic. That's his YouTube name. I don't know how to say his real name though. But he was talking about if they really cared about infrastructure, they would be doing a minimum wage $20 per hour jobs program for Americans. And if they claim to care about Black Americans and that disenfranchised, they always talk about that shit as they do. That's what you would do because that's who that would benefit the fucking most. Notice they're not doing that though, right?
Finally breaks out.
They'll probably say that's not infrastructure.
In the Congress that is going to be spent, but let's look at where it's going to be spent. Part of it will go to very large corporations,
most of it.
Corporations that rebuild bridges, pave the roads, develop electric charging stations for electric vehicles, all of that.
And all that's going to be privatized. Max Blumenthal covered this in his article about how the Green New Deal, AOC's Green New Deal, is basically a corporate giveaway. It allows these billionaires that have been, put in their money, whether they, have had their money in oil and shit like that, like the Koch brothers, like Michael Bloomberg, people like that, or Michael Bloomberg wasn't necessarily oil, but you know what I mean. But billionaires they're allowing them. The Green New Deal allows them to basically transition their wealth, building their wealth. The mechanism of building their wealth and continuing the hegemony they have on these markets. It's allowing them to transfer over to do that. to basically claim the future, where the whole point of the Green New Deal is supposed to be for us, the people, to claim the future. Nobody's talking about that. They're just worshiping AOC. You see people talking about the Green New, the Green New Deal, AOC has the Green New Deal, but it's a corporate handout. Y'all ignoring Max Blumenthal talking about this shit, though. That's why they out here calling him a conspiracy theorist and all this shit. Yo, that's why they out here, Cats and Karen Kasparian, Anna Kasparian, she out here talking about he's a misogynist, he's harassing Cori Bush. They're trying to smear him so you don't believe him about the shit he's talking about. And it's coming from the left, people who call themselves leftists and progressives. This guy who goes down to Venezuela and shows the truth about Venezuela while y'all sitting out fucking studios parroting the same intelligence community State Department talking points. And I'm going to be covering that green article. I've been saying this has been I was supposed to cover this story when I first started the channel, but I think I'm going to get around to it either this week or next week.
That money is going to go to big corporations. The other part of the money is going to go to the peaks of the political system, governors, government agencies at all levels. Well, they have a very cozy relationship, these two. The government leaders are the ones who give the contracts to the big corporations. They will take the federal money that comes to them and give it to the big corporations who don't get the money directly from the federal government, and there'll be many of those. And now let's see what they will do. Well, they will do what large corporations always do. They will pay very nice dividends to their shareholders. They will maintain or enhance the pay packages for their top CEOs and other officials. They will pad their own budgets. They will plan for the future. And then there will be maybe some trickle down to the mass of the people. But we know how they be.
After the rich inflates the currency. So people that talk about, inflation always talk about inflation when it comes to giving poor people money, when it comes to helping poor people, when it comes to unemployment benefits, when it comes to Medicare for all, when it comes to all of these different, the programs that help people out a little bit. That's when we talk about inflation. Even regular people say this shit. I talk to friends about this shit all the time, but they never talk about inflation when they give all these corporations trillions upon. I think they gave them $14 trillion with the CARES Act, or with the overall COVID stimulus packages altogether, upwards of 14 to $15 trillion. But we talk about poor people on unemployment with no fucking power to control that. Miss me with that bullshit.
Behave. We've watched it for a century. There's no basis to expect that they're going to behave any differently. So there may be some roads that are fixed, absolutely, and some bridges that are reinforced, and that's all very nice. But you have done absolutely nothing to transform the inequality of this system, the fact that a decision made by a tiny minority, the employer class in this country, is what shapes the economy for all of us, the majority who are excluded from just those decisions. You've done nothing about that. So it seems to me the Biden administration stands exposed as everything some of it was, which is a less harsh version of what the GOP offers us, but is equally committed to reinforce the basic structure of this system and simply trying to get us through this severe crisis without shaking any of the basic structures.
So Professor Wolff basically just gave the argument people like me and Jimmy Dore make. What's the point of voting for Democrats when the outcome is basically pretty much the same as voting for Republicans? He just said that in a very smart way. That's what Richard Wolff just said. What Professor Wolff just said.
Let's talk about the stimulus checks. Biden, of course, campaigned on $2,000 stimulus check that had been reduced to $1,400, extension of unemployment benefits, I think until July, and then the tax credits.
So yeah, I'm glad they went over the infrastructure. I don't know how old that video is, because I think I have seen it before, or parts of it. Like sometimes I'll let like my YouTube thing play when I'm laying down, not paying attention and shit like that. So I probably heard it or something like that. But yeah, but I'm glad they talked about that because again, these journalists that I semi-respect, you know, like David Day and, you know, David Sirota, even though David Sirota, you know, we all know how David Sirota be capping sometimes, but, you know, you can't call out the fuckery, but then tell us we need to be okay with the crumbs they give us. That don't make no sense. That's some bitch-ass shit, in my opinion. And that's why I call a lot of these people bitch-made leftists, because that's what they are. I'm not gonna put David Day in that category yet. David Sirota is very close to getting there for me. To the point where those are the niggas I don't listen to, pay no attention to no more. A lot of people are very close to there with me that I, you know, so, but it's a lot of people close and a lot of people that's already there for me. So, but this isn't about personalities. This isn't about, you know, who, you know, YouTube. This is about real shit. And I'm glad Professor Wolff and Chris Hedges talks about this. I feel like a lot of people avoid Chris Hedges and avoid his work because it's very depressing. It is. But guess what? That's the reality of the situation we live in. When you accept the reality of the situation, then you truly know freedom. And you can truly fix the problem that you're in. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close the video out there. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Emphasis on all that. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Peace.